All right, let's jump into this deep dive. Philippians 2:14.
Okay.
You know, probably a familiar verse to everyone listening. Do everything without grumbling or arguing. But
All right.
we're going deeper today.
Absolutely.
I mean, deeper for like pastors and Bible study leaders
Hmm.
who, they know the verse, they've heard it a million times, they've probably preached on it, taught on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for like the non-obvious stuff.
Yeah, like the stuff that's going to help them take it to the next
Exactly. Like how did these other pastors, we got all these sermons here.
Yeah.
How do they approach this in unique ways?
Yes.
What illustrations did they use?
Totally.
What were their unique perspectives?
Yeah, I think that's what makes this so fascinating.
Yeah.
Is that, like you said, so many of us are familiar with this verse. We kind of maybe have our go-to interpretations, but when you see how other pastors have approached it, it just kind of opens up these new avenues of thought and...
Like brand new sermon illustrations you never even thought about.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. So let's just dive right in. Connection Church Spearfish.
Okay.
They had a very interesting perspective.
Right.
They were saying that complaining is not just this like little slip up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ooh, I shouldn't have complained about that. It's a serious sin.
Mm-hmm.
It shows a lack of trust in God.
Right, like it goes deeper than just sort of a behavioral thing.
Exactly.
It's a heart issue.
Yeah, and they compared it
Yeah.
to the Israelites wandering in the desert.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Classic example.
Yeah.
Grumbling, complaining, even though God was providing for them.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they actually brought in the original Greek word for grumbling,
Okay.
which is onomatopoeic, meaning it sounds like the thing it describes.
Oh, wow.
So, like, the word itself is a complaint, and you can imagine in a sermon when you let your congregation hear that it just makes it so visceral.
Yeah.
It's not just an idea, it's like...
Like they're actually hearing a complaint.
I...
And that's like, oh, wow, maybe this is more serious than I thought.
Yeah, totally.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, Sherwood Community Friends Church had a different take on it.
Okay, yeah, they went in a different direction.
They were talking about this idea of Christians being gleamers.
I love that.
Little points of light.
Yeah.
Reflecting Jesus in the world.
Yeah, in a world that's often very dark.
Yeah, and
That imagery is so powerful.
it really is.
Just a single candle in a pitch black room, like you can't miss it.
Right. Like you're drawn to it.
Exactly, and they were saying even small acts of kindness,
Yeah.
choosing joy over grumbling,
Mm,
can be like those beacons drawing people toward God's light.
I like that.
And they had a great quote from Jonathan Pennington,
Oh, okay.
who said, "Our good deeds should be pointing to God's glory, not our own."
Okay, so it's not about us getting the credit or...
Right, exactly. It's not about self-promotion.
Yeah.
It's about reflecting God's goodness.
Yeah, so how do we as Christians and how do we as pastors and Bible study leaders help people to be these gleamers,
Mm-hmm. Right. It's about more than just saying, don't complain.
Right.
It's about equipping them with tools. And Sherwood Community Friends Church actually had a really interesting one.
Oh, okay.
They said, every time you feel that urge to grumble, use it as a prompt to pray.
Oh, that's good.
Turn that complaint into a conversation with God.
Yeah, like, God, I'm really frustrated about this instead of
Exactly.
complaining to your neighbor about it.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Okay, so Colton Community Church,
Yeah.
they had another really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
They said humility is the key to conquering grumbling and arguing.
Humility. Okay,
Yeah.
so like being humble.
Yes, but they weren't just talking about being meek and mild.
Oh.
They brought up this great quote from Henrietta Mears,
Yes.
who said, "You can't glow if you're grouchy."
Oh, I like that.
It's so good, right?
It's catchy.
Yeah, and it's about realizing that when we're focused on ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and our perceived injustices, it's easy to slip into negativity.
Right.
But humility shifts our focus outward
Okay.
toward God and others.
So it's not about me.
Exactly.
It's about you and God.
Yes, and that opens the door to genuine joy.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
They also shared this really funny story from Max Lucado about this couple who just couldn't stop complaining.
Oh, okay.
Their negativity became this self-perpetuating cycle that drove them apart.
Oh, no.
And it just highlights how grumbling doesn't solve problems.
Makes it worse.
It just makes them worse, yeah.
Yeah, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So this is where the role of community comes in.
Okay.
Connection Church Spearfish really emphasized that We need each other to truly live out Philippians 2:14.
Okay, yeah, because you're saying it affects our relationships.
Yes, it's not just an individual thing.
Yeah.
And they pointed to Paul's example in Philippians 2:17-18, where he's rejoicing even in the midst of hardship,
Right.
but he wasn't doing it alone.
He had his people.
He had his community
His community.
supporting him.
Yeah, so they're saying
Yeah.
we need that too.
We need people.
Our people.
Yes.
To help us not grumble and argue.
To encourage us, to hold us accountable.
Okay, and so they had this suggestion that I think could be really powerful for our listeners,
Oh, yeah.
incorporating small groups or accountability partners.
Specifically to help people fight that urge to complain.
So, like, you get together with your small group
Yes.
or your accountability partner, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, how did I do this week?
Yes. Where did I struggle? Where did I succeed?
Right.
And, imagine a community where people feel safe to confess their struggles with grumbling and encouraging one another.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's about creating an environment where humility thrives.
So how do we even cultivate humility in our churches,
Yeah,
especially in today's world,
especially today.
where it's all about me? Me.
Yes, it's a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's about shifting the culture from me first to God first.
Yeah.
And recognizing that we're all in this together.
I like that.
We need to be the ones to set the tone,
Yeah.
to create a space where humility and gratitude can flourish.
Okay, that's good.
So another weapon against complaining that these sermons highlighted thankfulness.
Oh, okay.
Living Hope Church really emphasized cultivating gratitude as the antidote to grumbling.
Okay, so like thankfulness is the opposite.
Exactly,
There-
of complaining. They even drew this really interesting parallel between social media
Oh, okay.
and the Israelites' complaints in the desert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Both can become these echo chambers of negativity,
Oh, that's a good point.
fueling discontent and blinding us to God's blessings.
Yeah, because on social media, you're just seeing everyone's highlight reel.
Exactly, and it's so easy to fall into the comparison trap.
Yeah, and then you start complaining about your life.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so true.
So it underscores the need for intentional gratitude practices, for actively seeking out and acknowledging God's goodness in our lives, even when it's hard to see.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we inspire genuine thankfulness in our congregations,
Yeah.
especially when they're going through hard times?
Right. It's not about denying the challenges.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus on God's faithfulness even amidst them.
Okay, so we're not just saying, like, everything's fine.
No, it's about acknowledging the hard things, but still choosing to be thankful.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Okay, so going back to Connection Church Spearfish for a moment.
Yeah.
They brought up this really practical tip for combating grumbling.
Okay.
Incorporating small group discussions or accountability partners.
Okay.
They emphasize the importance of Christian community in helping individuals live out Philippians 2:14.
Right, like we need each other.
We need each other.
Yeah, help us!
To stay on track, to encourage one another, and to confess our struggles.
That's good because, like, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes you just need someone to be like,
Yes,
hey, I'm struggling with this.
exactly. And to have someone say, me too,
Yeah.
and to pray for each other.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so for our pastors and Bible study leaders listening,
Yeah.
how can you create that kind of supportive environment?
Yeah.
It's about building a culture of grace and accountability where people can help each other grow in gratitude.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's not about, like, pointing fingers and being like,
No, it's not about judgment.
you're complaining too much.
It's about grace, yeah.
Yeah.
So Colton Community Church also had an interesting perspective on this.
Okay.
They brought up a quote from Henrietta Mears
Oh,
that really stuck with me.
okay.
She said, "You can't glow if you're grouchy."
Well, I like that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it perfectly captures what we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Grumbling extinguishes our inner light. That joy that comes from knowing and trusting God.
Yeah. And if we're not glowing, we're not reflecting Jesus to the world.
Exactly.
So remember Sherwood Community Friends Church's concept of Christians being gleamers?
Oh, yeah, those little points of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a fascinating quote
Oh, yeah.
from Blaise Pascal,
Okay.
who contrasted the righteous who see themselves as sinners
Okay.
with sinners who see themselves as righteous.
Wow. That's a deep thought.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think it ties back to this idea of grumbling.
Okay.
When we're full of ourselves,
Yeah.
when we think we deserve better,
Right.
it's so easy to fall into complaining.
Exactly.
But when we approach life with humility,
Mm-hmm.
with a grateful heart,
Yes.
we're less likely to grumble.
Yes.
and more likely to shine brightly.
Exactly. It's a complete shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And that shift can make all the difference.
So good.
Okay.
All right, let's look at some illustrations
Yes, let's bring this to life.
that these pastors used.
Okay.
Remember that story Colton Community Church shared
Yeah.
from Max Lucado about the constantly complaining couple?
Oh, yes. It was so powerful.
Oh, it was so
It
powerful.
really illustrated how negativity breeds negativity.
Yeah, and their negativity created this toxic atmosphere
Mm.
that ultimately drove them apart.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
And it's a reminder that grumbling isn't just an individual issue.
Right.
It affects everyone around us.
Exactly. It impacts our relationships.
Yeah. So Sherwood Community Friends Church,
Okay.
they had a really cool analogy
Oh, yeah.
to illustrate the power of light in darkness.
Okay.
They talked about the small red light on a Navy ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see that
Yeah.
miles away.
Yeah, even in the vastness of the ocean.
Right, it's just this tiny little light.
But it's so powerful.
But it's a beacon.
Yes.
So they were saying, like, Christians
Yeah.
can be that
Yes.
that beacon
in the darkness.
in the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Now-
cool.
Connection Church Spearfish,
Okay.
they had this humorous story
Okay.
about a monk.
Who was allowed to speak only 2 words every 10 years.
Wow.
And both times he chose to complain.
Oh, no.
That's so sad.
It's funny, but it's also kind of sad, right?
Yeah.
It shows how deeply ingrained complaining can be in our human nature.
It's true.
Yeah, so it challenges us to be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about cultivating gratitude.
Yeah.
We can't just assume it'll happen naturally.
Right.
We have to work at it.
We have to choose it.
We have to choose it, yes.
And for a more modern day illustration,
Okay.
Living Hope Church likens social media
Uh-huh.
to a platform for grumbling and disputing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people are always complaining on social media.
It's true. It's like they go there to yell at each other,
Yeah.
often with no resolution.
Right. And nothing changes.
Nothing changes exactly.
Oh, man.
So it's a good reminder to be mindful
Yeah.
of how we engage online.
Yeah. Like, are we being negative?
Yeah.
Or are we choosing gratitude?
Exactly.
Even online.
Even online, yeah. Okay, so as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive
Okay.
into Philippians 2:14,
Yeah.
let's revisit some of the key takeaways
Yeah. Let's rethink.
from these sermons.
Okay. So, first and foremost,
Yeah,
we saw how this verse goes beyond just a behavioral command.
right.
It's a call to cultivate a heart of gratitude,
Mhm.
humility, and trust in God.
Right. And that those things are possible.
Yes.
Like those are things we can actually choose.
Absolutely. It's a choice we make.
We also explored the importance of Christian community
Mm-hmm.
in helping us live out this verse.
Yeah, we need each other.
We need each other.
For support, for encouragement.
Yes, we're not meant to do this alone.
Exactly.
And we learned about the power of practical tools.
Like turning complaints into prayer requests,
Yeah.
practicing gratitude exercises.
Okay.
These are things we can implement in our own lives
Yeah.
and share with our congregation.
I like that.
Yeah.
We also saw how grumbling can hinder our spiritual growth,
Mm-hmm.
damage our relationships,
Yeah.
and dim our witness to the world.
It's not just a harmless habit.
Right. It has real consequences.
It has real consequences, yeah.
So pastors and Bible study leaders, take these insights
Mm-hmm.
and apply them in your ministry.
Yes.
Help your congregations move beyond
Yeah.
the surface level,
Like surface of
Philippians 2:14,
Yes.
and discover its transformative power.
Don't be afraid to get creative. Use those powerful illustrations and stories
Yeah.
that will stick with people.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
We're in this together.
Yeah, we can learn from each other,
Absolutely.
share our successes, our struggles.
And support one another.
Yeah, and that's what community is all about.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Okay, so before we move on,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a question
That's
to
okay.
ponder.
Yeah.
As you continue to explore Philippians 2:14, consider this.
Okay.
Could our grumbling actually be a form of pride?
Ooh.
Are we subtly placing ourselves above God's plan?
Okay, so like, we think we know better.
Are we essentially saying, God, I know better than you?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I deserve better than this.
Exactly.
That's good. That's something to think about.
It is, and we'll delve into that more in part 2.
All right, can't wait.
Yeah. You know, one thing that really struck me from all these different sermons on Philippians 2:14
Yeah.
was how they all focused on framing it in a positive light.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it's not just about avoiding what we shouldn't do, the grumbling and arguing.
right.
It's about what we should be doing instead.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
And one pastor, Colton Community Church,
Okay.
they made this really interesting point about how grumbling can actually rob us of joy.
Ooh. Oh.
They use this analogy of a thief stealing away our happiness.
Okay.
And they weren't talking about just like fleeting happiness, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
but the deep, abiding joy that comes from knowing and trusting God.
Right. Okay.
And they said that grumbling creates this barrier between us and God,
Oh.
blocking us from experiencing his blessings.
So we're actually blocking ourselves
In a way, yeah.
from what God wants to give us
Exactly.
because we're so focused on the negative.
Right.
They even had a quote from Corrie ten Boom,
Oh, wow.
who said, "Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength."
Ooh, that's good.
And I thought about that, and I was like, isn't grumbling just a form of worry?
It is, yeah.
Like we're focused on what's wrong
Mm-hmm.
instead of trusting God to work it out.
Yeah, we're choosing to live in this state of anxiety and discontent.
Right.
And that's not the abundant life Jesus promised us.
No, not at all.
Now, Sherwood Community Friends Church, they took a different approach.
Okay.
They focused on how grumbling affects our relationships.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And they told this story about a group of friends whose negativity and complaining
Yeah.
really led to the breakdown of their friendship.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerful reminder that grumbling, it's not just an individual issue. It
Mhm.
has ripple effects.
Yeah. It affects the people around us.
Exactly. Our negativity can poison our relationships, create division,
Yeah. Yeah.
resentment.
It's like that saying, misery loves company.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
When we're constantly complaining,
Right.
we're just inviting people into that misery.
Exactly.
And the opposite is true, too.
Absolutely.
When we choose joy and gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
we invite others into that.
Into that space of positivity and hope.
Yeah. Okay. So Connection Church Spearfish had a really interesting point.
Oh, yeah.
They talked about how grumbling can hinder our spiritual growth.
Okay, that makes sense.
They said it's like putting on spiritual blinders,
Mm-hmm.
preventing us from seeing God at work in our lives.
So we're so focused on what's wrong
Yeah.
that we miss the blessings.
We miss the blessings.
Yeah,
So it's like we're telling God we don't trust him.
in a way, yeah.
Like we don't believe he can take care of us.
Mm-hmm. That lack of trust can really stunt our spiritual growth.
Okay, so what are some practical things
Yeah, let's talk strategy.
that these pastors recommended for overcoming grumbling?
Yeah, because we got to have some tools.
Oh, get us some tools.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Living Hope Church had this great tip. They called it flipping the script.
Okay.
So every time you feel that urge to complain,
Mm-hmm.
challenge yourself to find something to be grateful for instead.
Oh, okay. So like
Yeah.
turn it around.
Turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
It's intentionally looking for the good.
Okay.
And the more we do that,
Yeah.
the more our brains actually start to rewire themselves
Really?
to see the positive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like training our minds to be grateful.
Okay.
Colton Community Church had a similar idea.
Okay.
They called it counting your blessings.
I like that.
Keep a gratitude journal. Write down at least 3 things you're grateful for each day.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be big things, right? It could
Mm.
be simple.
Like your cup of coffee.
Your cup of coffee, a sunny day,
Yeah.
a kind word from a friend.
I like that.
It's about shifting our focus from what we lack
Yeah.
to what we have.
Okay. And that can help us overcome the negativity.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Sherwood Community Friends Church,
Yeah.
they had a more contemplative approach.
Oh, okay.
They suggested incorporating daily gratitude meditation
Oh, interesting.
into our routines.
I love that.
Yeah.
Just taking a few moments to reflect on the good things.
Yeah. Starting or ending the day.
Exactly. They actually gave their congregation a guided meditation script
Oh, wow.
to use, encouraging people to find a quiet space,
Mm-hmm.
close their eyes, really immerse themselves in that feeling of gratitude.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's about slowing down, being present, appreciating the beauty around us.
Yeah.
It's a way to reconnect with ourselves,
Mhm.
with God, with his blessings.
That's good.
So Connection Church Spearfish, they were a little more action-oriented.
Okay.
They challenged their congregation to find tangible ways to express their gratitude.
Like what?
So write thank you notes,
Okay.
do acts of service.
Just express appreciation to those around you.
I like that.
It's about taking that gratitude and putting it into action.
Yeah, not just feeling it,
Not just a feeling. Yeah.
but actually doing something with it.
Exactly. And that's where the real transformation happens.
Okay.
When we go beyond feeling grateful to actively expressing it,
Yeah.
we create this ripple effect of positivity and love.
Okay, let's talk about some more illustrations
Yeah, let's bring it to life.
that these pastors used. because these can really help us when we're teaching.
Absolutely. They make it memorable.
Yeah, so Sherwood Community Friends Church had this beautiful analogy about a stained glass window,
Oh, wow.
and they talked about how each piece of glass
Mm-hmm.
might seem kind of dull and insignificant on its own,
Yeah.
but when it's put together with all the other pieces
Yeah.
and held up to the light,
Yeah.
it creates this breathtaking work of art.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
And it's such a perfect illustration of how our individual acts of gratitude,
no matter how small they seem,
yeah,
can come together to create something really beautiful
I love that.
and inspiring.
So at Colton Community Church, they used a more humorous analogy.
Okay, I like those.
They talked about how complaining is like carrying around a bag of rotten potatoes.
Oh, that's funny.
Like you can just picture it, right?
Yeah, it's so vivid.
This big smelly sack of negativity
Weighing us down.
weighing us down.
Yeah.
And they said, every time we complain,
Yeah.
we're adding another rotten potato to that bag.
Oh,
And the
no.
more we complain, the heavier that bag gets.
It's dragging us down.
Yeah, dragging us down.
Making it harder to move forward.
So we have a choice
Right.
to empty that bag
Get rid of those rotten potatoes.
and fill it with gratitude.
Yes, with joy, with hope.
Okay, so Connection Church Spearfish.
Okay.
They had a more thought-provoking analogy.
Right.
They compared grumbling to a virus.
Oh, interesting.
It
Yeah.
spreads from person to person.
Oh, wow.
So when we're constantly complaining,
Yeah.
we're not only infecting ourselves,
Right.
but we're also spreading it to everyone around us.
It's contagious.
It is contagious.
And our words and actions,
Mhm.
they have a big impact on others,
Yeah,
whether we realize it or not.
it's true.
So it's a challenge to all of us
Yeah,
to be aware of our negativity,
and to choose differently.
to choose gratitude and joy instead.
Yeah, so as we move into part 3 of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want you to think about how you can apply these insights to your own ministry.
Yeah, think about how you can use these stories and analogies and practical tips
To inspire your congregation.
to move from grumbling to gratitude.
Yeah, and to create a culture of humility and thankfulness.
Yes, in your church, your Bible study.
And how can you model that gratitude in your own life?
Yes, lead by example.
Lead by example. So that's something to think about
Those are some big questions as we continue to explore.
as we continue to explore Philippians 2:14.
And we'll dive even deeper into those questions in part 3.
Okay, so we're back diving deeper into Philippians 2:14. And I'm thinking, we've covered a lot of ground
Yeah, we have.
about gratitude, about humility.
Mm.
But how do we, actually do it?
Right.
Like, how do we cultivate this in our own lives?
Yeah.
And then how do we as pastors, Bible study leaders, inspire it?
Yeah, how do we equip our people to
Yeah.
actually live this out?
That's the big question.
It is a big question.
And thankfully, these pastors had some ideas.
They did.
I'm remembering Connection Church Spearfish talking about community.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't just say join a church or go to small group.
Right.
They had specific examples of how to use community to fight grumbling.
Yeah, they gave some really practical ideas.
Yeah, like small group discussions specifically focused on gratitude,
Oh, interesting.
where you could share your struggles.
Yeah, a safe space.
Yeah, and encourage each
To
other.
remind each other of what we're thankful for.
And they even talked about accountability partners,
Oh, I like that.
but specifically for complaining.
Oh, wow. So it's like your
Anti-grumbling buddy.
yeah, your joy coach. Yeah.
Yeah, your joy coach.
I love that.
So I could see a pastor listening to this and being like,
Yeah.
okay, but how?
Right. Like, how do we actually implement this?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
did any of the pastors talk about
Yeah.
creating a culture
Yeah.
of gratitude?
Colton Community Church had some great ideas about that.
Right.
They talked about incorporating gratitude into every aspect of church life,
Okay.
from announcements to sermons to small group discussions.
Oh, like that.
Even a gratitude wall where people could write what they were thankful for.
Oh, that's simple, but effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a visual reminder of the good.
What about those people who are just chronically negative?
The chronic complainer.
Yeah, how do you deal with that?
That's a tough one.
Because you can't just force them to be positive.
No, you can't force it, but Sherwood Community Friends Church had a good point. They said instead of trying to force people to be positive,
Yeah.
focus on modeling gratitude ourselves.
So
Lead by example.
do as I do, not as I say.
Exactly, because our joy, our thankfulness, it can be contagious.
Okay.
It can start to chip away at that negativity.
So I guess it starts with us.
It does.
Being aware of our own thoughts, our words.
Yeah. How often are we complaining?
Yeah.
even about small things.
Because we do, right?
We
We
do.
complain more than we realize.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
But we can change it.
We can.
We can choose to focus on the positive.
Absolutely, we have that power.
Yeah.
And Living Hope Church talked about putting gratitude into action.
Oh, yeah.
They said, encourage people to write thank you notes,
Okay.
volunteer, do random acts of kindness.
So it's not just a feeling.
Yeah.
You're actually doing something.
It's taking action.
I like that.
It's about going beyond words
Yeah.
and showing our gratitude through our actions.
It's like that story Sherwood Community Friends Church shared about the little boy
Yeah.
who gave his cookie to a homeless man.
It's a powerful story,
Like, it wasn't much.
but it was everything.
Yeah. And that's what we're called to do.
Right.
And that's really like the heart of Philippians 2:14, right?
Yeah.
It's not just avoiding the negative.
It's about actively choosing joy,
Yeah.
gratitude, humility.
And letting it flow out
Yes, letting it transform us.
and transform the world around us.
Exactly.
And it's a journey.
It is a journey.
It's not like you arrive and you're just like,
right, you've reached peak gratitude.
yeah, we're all going to have those days
We will.
where we struggle,
Absolutely.
we complain, we get negative.
That's part of being human.
But it's about coming back
Yes.
to gratitude,
Coming back to the good
reminding ourselves of the good.
and striving to live in a way that reflects God's love.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to challenge our listeners
Mhm.
to like take this and actually do something with it.
Put it into practice.
Yeah, so start by examining your own heart.
Yeah.
How often are you grumbling?
What are you thankful for?
Yeah, even in the midst of the hard stuff.
Even when it's tough.
And then how can you create that culture of gratitude
Yeah.
in your church, in your small group?
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Start small.
Start small.
Gratitude wall, a moment of thanksgiving.
It's the small steps that add up.
Yeah, and it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about progress.
Every step towards gratitude is a step towards a more joyful life.
And that's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Philippians 2:14.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep digging, keep seeking, and keep shining your light.